Here.
Mary? Ashley? Here. Jeannie?
Here.
All right, we are all in attendance. Notice of meeting.
The meeting was properly noticed.
Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, could you please stand with me to do the pledge?
Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight, we will be starting with recaps from the Booster Club and the PTO. Hi, Marika. Sorry.
Don't get comfortable.
How's everyone?
Good, how are you?
Good.
There it
There we
is.
go.
Success. Well done, Jordan.
Okay, for those that don't know me, I'm Marika Westerman, Booster Club President, and this will be my 5th year on the board, 4th year as president. First year was during COVID, so that was fun. And then right after that, lots of state appearances, so again, really never a dull moment, but it's been awesome. So in terms of fundraising, this is kind of how it breaks out for us. And I'm really proud to say that all of the grant requests that we've had that have been approved by the school, we've been able to fulfill since I've been on the board, which has really just been awesome. In terms of our top fundraising tactics, they include concessions and spiritware. Okay. So here's some of our notable athletic grants, with the Huddle Focus camera being one that supports kind of the whole school in addition to our weight room donation. We've really been able to support, as you can see, a wide variety of boys and girls programs this year, which has just been great. And then just in terms of our activity grants, I'm sure we all remember the drama one with the fire department that came a couple times. I think that was that.
That's right.
Grant request, we helped with that. But still, we're able to give over $16,000 to our clubs this year, which was great as well. And then in terms of other giving, we do partner with the PTO. That was kind of one of our initiatives from last year that we've been able to really successfully do this year, and we were able to provide Qdoba lunch for the whole district, which was great. In terms of other giving, we also contributed $2,000 to post-prom to really try to help bring that cost down for those kids. And then here's just a few other ways that we support the school too. As I mentioned, able to fulfill all the grant needs that were approved by the high school. And then this is just the discretionary grant total, and then our concession grants that we give back to our working groups. This past year, we did have a net revenue of just over $15,000 compared to last year. We did have a net loss. That was just, again, a lot of those programs going to state, couldn't quite keep up with it, but getting back into the positive for this past year. And then scholarships, I know we had, I think it was 18 applicants, and just always some really great kids. I don't know how they pick those winners, but these are our 4 winners. They each got $750 in scholarships for this next year. And then just a few of our highlights, like I mentioned, teacher appreciation. It's always great partnering with PTO. We do new teacher gift cards. Last year we did a food truck. This year we did Qdoba. We work together to provide youth spiritware. We just have been placing kind of a bigger order of spiritware and trying to get some for the kids as well. And then we did partnerships this past year for the weight room. And then in terms of our fundraiser, we did have our fundraiser that we haven't had in quite a few years, and that was a lot of fun. We had it at Pewaukee Yacht Club. We raised close to $17,000, which was great. And we called on the coaches and advisors to provide baskets and help with donations, and they were awesome, so that was wonderful. And then on every other year, we're going to do the fundraiser. This next year, we'll once again do our unfundraiser, which is just more the direct ask, and last time that brought in around $3,500, so kind of a super low cost, easy way to try to get a few more bucks in. And then we did have our flag year for membership, and that was the only way you could get a flag, which those all go for sale in the store next year in case you missed that. And then our membership premium item for this coming year is going to be a beach basket, beach bag, and blanket. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Marika.
Thanks, Marika.
Hi, I'm Michelle Ikes. I'm with Pewaukee PTO. I've never been here before, so I'm subbing in for Melissa tonight. I'm the campaign coordinator for the PTO, which means it sounds really fancy, like you think I'd raise a lot of money. Primarily, I deal with Culver's and Culver's Spirit Night, and I do a lot of things relating to food and custard. So that's my role. This is my third year on the board. Melissa said that you guys all had this handout. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. So that kind of summarizes everything that we did this year. One thing that we were really proud of was our grant cycle. We funded over 50 grants this year, and we actually had at your suggestion, we had put in 2 cycles for our grants so that teachers have an opportunity at the beginning of the year to submit grants, and then also after they've already had a semester and they've already gone through part of the school year, they can submit a request again. So that worked really well because we were able to fulfill more grants, we were able to see more requests, and the other thing that we did was we added the opportunity for students to submit grants when they do so in partnership with a faculty member who's sponsoring the grant as well. So that also just helped us kind of broaden out the community and broaden out what we do so that the students see that when they're doing things like the fundraiser and all of that, that's actually coming back around to the school in a very tangible way. So that was really great. One of the grants that we kind of wanted to highlight was the addition of 3 AEDs to the schools. We felt that that was a really important way that we could contribute. So that was great. We raise, through our fundraiser, about $100,000 annually every year. Another big thing that we're doing this year right now is happening is we're contributing $75,000 to the upgrade of the PLE playground. So we're very proud of that. We also work really hard on teacher appreciation. That's probably the other place where we see a lot of the work that we do and the money that we raise being put out. This year we learned that teachers really wanted to keep it simple, and they didn't want a lot of things. They just wanted to be able to have lunch. So we worked to do basically a district-wide Qdoba lunch that was like a taco bar, and everybody was able to participate. And we actually raised additional money for that lunch. We gave parents the opportunity to say, hey, you can fund one of these lunches for your kids' teacher rather than sending, gifts or whatever else to school. You can just give them a free lunch this way, and it actually worked great. We just about broke even on that. So, and that was the first time that we had done that, and Qdoba did not give us a discount, so we paid full price. So that was positive. In addition to that, we also do a lot of community events. One of the things that we're constantly trying to improve upon and make more of a kind of signature event for the lower schools is our annual custard cookout, which is a back-to-school event. It's happening on August 31st. We were able to partner with the PTO to actually have food there for the families to come in addition to the custard, and it was just a really nice gathering. So we're looking forward to having anybody who wants to come participate and volunteer to help scoop ice cream and just say hello to the families. I know, Dr. Katie, you're a great scooper, so we appreciate that.
I can scoop ice cream. I have
It's
some
custard.
skill in that area.
And I think that's about it. I don't know if anybody has any questions or there's things Melissa would normally tell you that I haven't told you, but that's about it.
Are you continuing with Hoops Night? I know this year you brought it back. Do you know? Do you not know?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
So we are actually, this month and another week, we are having what we call our scheduling meeting. So that's where we schedule out all of the things that are going to happen, and we put all the dates on the calendar. And so the 2 things that we'll be discussing is Hoops Night And if not Hoops Night, what would we do instead? And then also, what will we do as our fundraiser? Because we feel like we've done Raise Craze enough times now that it's kind of cycled through, and so we're looking for kind of a new way to go about that fundraiser. So those will be two big points of discussion.
And when, I'm sorry, when is that meeting?
Next Monday,
Next Monday?
so. All right, thank you very much.
Oh, Bren.
I have a question. I'm really impressed by the dollar amounts raised by both of these organizations, and to both you ladies, what do you attribute your success? What's your secret sauce?
I'll tell you, our secret sauce is parents, and that parents love this school district. And I know, like, you know, from the get-go when my kids started coming here, that I was always looking for a way to give back because the teachers are just pouring into your kids. And so I think the fact that we give parents that opportunity, the actual fundraising part is not such a huge lift because of everything that goes on in the schools. The desire to participate in that way is there. I do think that, like, the lunch, the teacher appreciation lunch, gave them a unique opportunity to do something that wasn't necessarily tangible but had a real impact on those teachers. So I think that's it. This school district is the secret sauce.
I would say that unfortunately, I think some of the giving tapers off by the time they get to the high school. They're a little gift out, but we try to find creative ways, and I think one of the biggest ways is through our services, so concessions and spiritware. I mean, I think sometimes people come in and look at the spiritware and they're like, oh my gosh, that's pricey, but then we try to, you know, remind people it's a fundraiser. You know, we're marking it up to give the money back, and then particularly with concessions too. I mean, we had some major candy shortages for a while there, as you can imagine, and those are kind of big sellers. But we always try to stay at a certain profit margin in order to just be able to give that money back to the school. And then I was really happy with the $17,000 raised from our little fundraiser. I thought that was great. We got great support from the community. And then again, just the unfundraiser. So any little way we can get creative is. But I really like the idea of having people chip in for teacher appreciation for the lunch, and I think I'm going to do that next year, because I just think people don't know what, you know, necessarily, there's so many teachers, and then if they know that they're chipping in for just something that's benefiting all of them, I think that's a great way to do it.
Just like a note for both of you, when we had the Watt jersey retirement event, Chris McIntosh, who's the athletic director at the University of Wisconsin now, was here and was walking through, and he looked at, and I know both organizations helped out with the new weight room equipment, and that was a major improvement. How far we've come from when I was a teacher here in the 90s to what's down there now. But he pointed out right away, he said, yeah, that's what we have at the University of Wisconsin. I mean, that's their same equipment. So I'd share that compliment with you that he looked at it and said, yeah, that's the same kind of equipment the Badgers are training on. So
that's awesome. I feel like that was such a great example of us working together. We kind of had this vision. We went to the district together and said, you know, how can we make an impact? And that was a district-wide initiative, and such a great success story from our two groups. I mean, PTO, you know, gave a way bigger chunk than we were able to, but we worked together with the Raise Craze, and it just turned out awesome. So we were so happy that, you know, and really everyone benefits, you know, or will eventually benefit. I mean, I know 6th through 8th is in there every day, and then, you know, as you come through the districts, obviously that's something that everyone can benefit from. So.
Well, and I think too, it's a good touch point. So I didn't tell you this, but I have two rising 7th graders, twin boys. And it's nice for me who, like, I work on the PTO and we do a ton of stuff, it feels like, for PLE, and we're very engaged there, and that's where we do a lot of the, you know, the custard cookout, and we're doing the holiday kickoff there, and we're doing a lot of those things for the lower grades. So it's nice for me to feel like, oh, okay, well, this is something that not only could my kids, like, benefit from, but they'll benefit over the long term, so.
no, I really appreciate how the two organizations have chosen in the last couple of years just to work together a little bit more than in past years. I think that's been really positive.
Thank you for all your time and efforts. We really appreciate it.
Well done, thank you.
All right, moving on, salutes and recognitions. Does anybody have any they want to bring up? We're in the middle of summer. Slow, how about you guys?
I have a couple.
Go ahead, Danielle.
I want to salute Sandy Krakowski, not only for being here tonight and filling in for Julie, but for her work in helping set up for Leadership Week that kicked off today. She does so much work to make the week just really engaging for all of us and be able to build ourselves as a team. So I very much appreciate her. Also want to salute John Stangler, Ben Graham, and Robin Wilson, who, and Sandy's in on this as well, who are helping out with our service project, getting that set up for Leadership Week. I did want to extend an invitation to you. It's last minute, but to any board member who's interested in helping with our service project this week, it's going to be this Wednesday, starting at 12:15, room 119, Sandy? 118, 119-ish. Yeah, 118, 119 here at PHS. We're going to be building a storybook trail out on our trail system and stuff. If you haven't seen a storybook trail, it's going to be 10 posts. I don't know really how to describe it, but it's underneath like a frame, and there'll be 2 pages of a storybook laminated. And so as a family walks through the trail, they can read the book together. And so they'll be at a height where like even our littles can read the book. And so about every month we'll go and change out the book with the different seasons and things like that. So just another way to enhance our trail system and hopefully engage more of our community to come and use our trail system, because it's beautiful and wonderful, and use it all throughout the seasons, not just, during these summer months. So we're going to be building the structures for it, and then our B&G will go install them at a later date and stuff. So if anybody's interested in helping with that, 12:15 on Wednesday this week here at PHS room 118, 119.
So can I be the person that hands the person the hammer, like a
Sure.
nurse in an OR?
Yeah, well, we have all sorts of different projects. We're gonna have one group helping to pick out the books. We have the first book, and
Okay.
that needs to be laminated, so that's like a super simple project. But then another group is gonna be like actually picking out the books for the remainder of the months and stuff, just because there's a lot of us, and so, yes, there's something for all.
You don't want me pounding.
Yeah, we're gonna leave the
would not
power
be good.
tools to JG and others. Robin, she's really
Robin,
good with power
yeah.
tools.
Oh, that's great, thank you. All right, anything else, guys?
I just salute Danielle because her right along with Sandy has done a great job preparing for our annual Leadership Week. For those of you who may not be as aware, this is 4 days it could be just 4 days of meetings, which I don't think anybody wants 4 days of meetings of anything. So, but we get a lot of great work done, but again, relationship building, team building, opportunities at the same time. So today was a really good day. We got a lot of work done, and we had some fun, and we have like Emily Hansen, our new Dean of Students, was there, so we got to spend time with her and get to know her a little bit better today. And Danielle, along with Sandy, does a lot of work to make sure that it's a very engaging and fun week for everybody.
All right, thank you. Moving on to comments from citizens. Sandy, do we have any cards? No, I don't have any. All right, thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. So we have the minutes from the previous meetings, which was just the June 26th meeting, the regular meeting. There was correspondence in our packet. There were no gifts at this time. And then we need to vote on approving the policies. And I have to apologize if there are any citizens out there watching. I did read the wrong policies last meeting. I apologize for that. So these are the policies that were up, were supposed to be up last time. So it's 5200.06, high school grading procedures, 5600.01, emergency school closing, 5700.06, student representatives to the Board of Education, 5500.07, fundraising, and 5500.08, accident reporting. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor of accepting the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Moving on to the Business Affairs Committee. Jane?
Yep. So Business Affairs Committee met tonight and we reviewed the check registers. There were some expenses related to some grant projects that came through, such as a cabling project and a GeoGrid. We also reviewed some subscriptions and reimbursements. And then this is the end of our fiscal year. So we had an interim report on the fiscal year, year-end financial review. And revenues thus far have come in at 97% in the general fund, and expenditures are at 99.5% of the general fund, so that's looking really good. And starting the week of July 24th is our audit. So there's still some expenses to come in to finalize and close the books, but it looks really good.
Nice.
Move
All
to
right.
accept the business affairs report.
Thank you, Jeannie. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor of approving the business affairs report, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, moving on to new business, the multi-tiered system of supports, response to intervention handbook.
Yes, so Katie Spadoni is here tonight, who did the yeoman's share of this work along with our district team. And you saw the memo and the attached handbook there. So this is a handbook that you see annually, presented to you. This year, our RTI program was under renewal of the last couple of years. And so along with that, there was a shift to the multi-tiered system of support, really just making the shift from RTI response to intervention was really kind of specific for, it's what was legally required before you could potentially identify a student with disabilities. You had to do 2 research-based strategies, which is where kind of the concept of RTI started more than a decade ago. In the country and stuff. And what has shifted over many years is educators have recognized that what works in RTI works for many students who might be struggling, not just those who are basically on a trajectory towards special education. And so for many, many years, we've already been capturing students in RTI who are not necessarily going to be identified as special ed. In fact, the goal is so that they don't, right? We catch them early and work to improve their abilities. And so just MTSS is an education terminology and a concept recognized by Wisconsin legislature as a more fitting title to the system. And then along with that, Katie and her team did a wonderful job of aligning the processes we already have in place to our graduate profile and to all of the branding that we do, so that the handbook, as you can see, if you looked at the old RTI handbook compared to the new one, visually, it's a lot easier to understand. They did a great job of understanding how to lay out the graphics so that it's a handbook that isn't just sitting on a shelf. Our interventionists really can use it to guide their work in a really understandable way. And as appropriate, we can share it with parents as well. It wouldn't be something we would just hand out to parents and say, please read this and you'll understand what's happening. But rather we can use it as a resource when perhaps we need to work with a parent whose child might be struggling in an area. So Katie is here. If there's any questions, her or I are happy to take those. I did not receive any questions from any board members prior to tonight.
That's because this book was so thorough.
It was very pleasing.
Nice
To
work.
be honest. Yeah.
And shout out to Miranda as well, who helped with Miranda-izing it all, if you couldn't tell.
Just maybe a kind of a quick clarification. Is there like a really big distinction or distinct difference between the MTSS and the RTI that really stands out for me?
I mean, not in the way that we have been operating for many, many years, right? If you took RTI just purely on its legislative language, the difference would be as an MTS system really encompasses all students. We've been doing that for many years, so we've really been operating as an MTSS system for many, many years, and stuff, but RTI was the more, I guess, common language used, common title associated with it. So for us, there is no large distinction. It's just more encompassing in MTSS.
The other side of that too would be like the behavioral and social emotional
Yeah.
support. And so without getting too like alphabet soupy, right? RTI kind of encompassed the academic side, and then PBIS was kind of the social emotional behavioral side, and MTSS braided those together. To Danielle's point, we've been doing a lot of that already, but with the program renewal up, it was the perfect time to switch over the language, and it matched what we were already doing. With the handbook, really the biggest kind of tweak that we made was adding a space on that pyramid that says Tier 1 intervention, which we've been talking a ton about learning sprints. That's something that you all have learned a lot about with the building updates too. So it's just kind of putting that in part of our structure, that as students have needs that arise in the classroom to either be accelerated or pushed or enriched, or extra support, that's first done from the classroom setting, and then interventionists come in as needed.
When did Learning Sprints start? Was this the first year or second?
At the high school, this was the first year, but they've been happening K-8, especially K-5 for many, many years. I'm just looking back to my APs, I mean, at least probably 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, in the elementary schools.
I have another couple questions, sorry. So with this, I mean, is it something that the DPI kind of promotes or supports? And if so, is there like reporting? I mean, do we have to do any reporting to anyone on this? And
Yeah, so DPI certainly promotes it. It's in legislation in different areas. So for example, the new literacy bill that recently went through, right, has a section in there that requires schools to provide intensive support for students who are struggling, right, in reading. So what that referencing is MTSS. So that's a system we've already had in place. So to meet that element of the law, we've been doing it for well over a decade. So it's both in law and DPI supports it. One of the things, I think it was in your DA report this time, or it's going to be in the next one, I forget which one, is we've had for a number of years received accolades from the RTI, Wisconsin RTI Center, which is associated with DPI, for our different tiers. So PLE this past year got gold in both math and reading recognition. And so there's only, I think about, I want to say 90-some districts that get those kind of recognitions. We've gotten it for the last 6 or 7 years. At least one of our schools has been recognized, oftentimes multiple schools.
but is that based on like data that we submit, or is it the
Yeah.
program that we offer? In terms of,
Both. Both, yeah. We both have to describe our program as well as provide data to support our results.
the other one I have a question on is the talented and gifted. It's still listed as like an appendix to this?
It's all interwoven into this one handbook. Now, yeah, historically, we had the RTI handbook, then we had the TAG handbook, and then we had the behavioral handbook, and it's all interwoven
It
now.
is, and so if you read the one-pagers that has like tier 1 intervention, tier 2, tier 3, you can read that for any need, whether that be extension enrichment, or whether that be academic support or behavioral, social, emotional support. However, TAG is a little bit different, where it has 6 different areas that you can, there's just different pieces that still needed to be explained in more detail. So there is an appendix as opposed to an addendum that lists those specific components of TAG. So that is included in the one handbook, listed under the appendix.
Like page 16. And 15. 15 and 16.
Anybody else? All right. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the MTS RTAI handbook, a response to intervention, I guess, handbook for the 2023-24 school year as presented.
Second.
All in favor of approving the MTSS Response to Intervention Handbook for the 23-24 school year, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you, Katie. Oh, you're gone. Thank you, Katie. Okay, moving on to the parent and student handbooks.
Yeah, so we have our all associate principals here who really take the lead and updating, revising student handbooks. So they're here to take any questions that you have.
Katie, I'm going to throw one at you. So Asa seemed the most. Hi.
She's back.
A
Been
lot of
busy,
changes at
Stacy.
Asa, right?
Somewhat,
Yeah.
somewhat, yep. So, a lot of tweaking and more so just aligning. The biggest change I would say was under the discipline, let me just pull up exactly what it was called. Discipline intervention is what the section was titled, and it just basically listed the philosophy and the consequences. As you know, over the last 2 years, we've done a lot of work at ASA specifically to be more proactive in our approach to supporting students' behavioral and social emotional need. So it made sense to really look at what is parent facing and make sure that it is representative of the work that we've done over the last year. So that area needed some hefty revisions where you'll see a whole section removed. We replaced it and updated it with more consistent language and just to match, the work that we've done over the last year. Handbooks are always interesting because they're done right at the end of one school year for the next school year, and so much goes into that process. So, I would say that was the biggest section that Anthony and I really worked to revise and update thoroughly. But the rest was just a little bit more minor, aligning with the high school on some dress code wording, things of that nature.
I liked the dress code wording. I know it's been a topic forever and ever and ever, and I liked what you guys did with it this year.
Thank you.
Can you remind me, and you guys changed from pirate resource to a flex period? I forgot. I forgot the reasoning behind that and what exactly you're gonna do. I forgot.
For the
about that.
upcoming school year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Pirate Resource was a school-wide resource period, and it was put into the schedule for a number of reasons. And as we lived through the schedule, just being grade level scheduling based and classroom specific based, classroom teachers were really advocating for more time with the kids within their house to provide them with Tier 1 intervention and extension as appropriate. So now with the built-in flex times, that's per grade level. So it just gives the house team, 3 teachers, about 100 kids, a little bit more time to be responsive to the kids in front of them, as opposed to trying to plan and strategize around the whole building moving and what those needs are and competing needs at that time. So just a little bit more strategy can be implemented with a flex period versus a building-wide pirate resource. We're still gonna have our extended learning days next year, which will offer teachers and students the opportunity to connect outside of, the academic purpose. So we're excited about continuing that, but that's the change that we're gonna make next year.
And again, the I see the flex periods are staggered or different for each
Yeah.
grade. I can't remember, was pirate resource the same time?
it
for
was.
At all grades, okay.
So that
is
way it was a
another change.
school-wide resource
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But the other pro to having the staggered is that we can push services, our student support team or our interventionists to go and do some work or observations with groups of kids. When it's staggered like that, we can push resources out as needed, as opposed to, again, everyone competing for the same time. So we're excited to see, how that opportunity can have an impact on student learning.
Yeah, thank you, that makes sense. I agree, I liked also the wording of everyone's, I saw a lot of consistency throughout all of the school buildings, and it was easy to follow. I mean, you kind of know what to expect as you move up through the different buildings. So I thought that was really well laid out.
Thanks, Jane.
Really like the updates you give us too, that way I know where to go looking for the changes.
Good.
I have a question, and maybe I just either am looking at the wrong document or the wrong update. So in the Pewaukee High School, Brian, in terms of there's the grading, or honor roll and grading section that's in there. We have the policy now where we have the high distinction, but I don't know if that's reflected in that language on page 11.
Well, since that policy was just approved tonight, that would be an update that
Okay.
they'll need to do, but didn't want to preemptively make that.
Good answer, Daniel. Good recovery. Okay.
So that will be updated to reflect the policy.
Thank you.
Paul's making notes right now.
What's that?
All right, anything else? Anyone have anything else? All right, this is informational for us, so there's no action needed. I want to thank all of you for coming in tonight. I'm assuming you might be skedaddling out of here, I don't know. Maybe. But thank you, we really appreciate you coming in. Not you though, Jeff. You guys stay. So next we have the athletics and activities report.
Good evening. First and foremost, thanks for allowing me to come in and share some of the highlights that we've had this past year. You have both reports in your packet. So I'm not going to go through them line by line, but I do want to highlight some of the good successes that we had this year. I'll start with the athletics report. Participation-wise, participation rate remained exactly the same at 56% of our student body. 60% is always our goal, and that's just a number that a lot of schools use. It's not a number that a lot of schools attain, but that's just kind of what we shoot for. 56 is pretty close, obviously, but we still want to bump it up, and I'll talk in a little bit about some things that I think are going to get us close to that 60% next year. Our fall and spring numbers were up, while winter numbers were down just by one athlete. Our multiple sport athlete numbers were about the same as last year. And as far as gender participation, we were just 1% different from last year, but we are still in compliance with Title IX when it comes to gender participation. As far as accomplishments, we had 5 conference titles plus 1 conference tournament championship. We had 5 regional titles, 2 sectional titles, 3 teams qualified for state along with 21 individuals. 5 individuals medaled at state. We had 1 team state runner-up in girls basketball, and we had 1 team state championship in boys basketball, which marked a three-peat for that program. We had 96 all-conference athletes, which is up from 79 last year, and I think back to about 5 years ago when I came in here, the number of all-conference athletes that we had was right around 45 to 50. And so in about 5 years, we've doubled the amount of all-conference athletes that we've had in a year. 6 athletes were named Conference Player of the Year in their sport. Roe Longden, that was their second year in a row for girls golf, being the golfer of the year for that sport. Milan Momcilovic, 3rd straight year as being the boys basketball player of the year for the conference. And I do want to highlight Carter Pearson. Carter Pearson, he was male track athlete of the year for the Woodland Conference in his first year in track as a senior. He played baseball his first 3 years, decided he wanted to do track this year, and literally jumped off the track surface. He was a triple jumper, a long jumper, and actually didn't long jump until right before the conference tournament and said, I'll give this a shot. And ultimately ended up winning the conference championship in long jump. And then also he was a 100-meter sprinter, I believe. We had 13 all-state athletes, 2 Milwaukee Sports Award Players of the Year for their sport. That was again Milan and then Zoe Heavey in girls soccer. Interestingly enough, Zoe was edged out by a girl from Muskego as the state player of the year for girls soccer, but when it came to the Milwaukee Sports Awards, Zoe was voted ahead of the Muskego. So we almost had 2 state players of the year, which brings me to, we had 1 state player of the year, and that was Milan. We had 1 All-American soccer player, which is the first female soccer All-American in school history, and that was Zoe. The only other All-American that we've had for soccer is Lucas Nestis just a couple years ago. And then we had Pewaukee's first Gatorade Player of the Year in their sport, and that was, again, Milan for boys basketball. And then we had 17 seniors sign their letter of intent to continue playing their sport at the collegiate level. Academically speaking, we had 3 academic all-state teams and 12 academic all-state individuals. That number just rises every single year. So that's outstanding. In the fall season, girls golf earned the highest GPA with 20 participants, and their average GPA was a 3.95. 20 girls, their average was 3.95. In the winter, girls basketball, as a whole program, 30 members earned a 3.67 GPA. When it came to just the varsity program, they were actually the second highest GPA in the state for girls basketball. They were also second in the state at the state tournament.
Did Notre Dame get first for the academic, Jeff?
What's that?
Did Notre Dame get first for the
No,
GPA?
they weren't
Okay.
even listed.
All right.
In the spring, girls track had an average GPA of 3.80 with 44 girls on the track. So the average GPA of 44 girls, 3.80, bringing our ultimate average GPA of all student athletes in our school at 3.60. So it's just outstanding stuff. Obviously, our teams are doing it on the court, on the field, on the track, on the mat in the pool, and they're also doing it in the classroom. Professional development for coaches, we had 15 head coaches and their staff participate in professional development within their state associations. We had 4 coaches that were named Coach of the Year for their conference, in the conference for their sport. And we had actually 2 coaches this summer coach in their all-star game, Jim Reuter for girls basketball and Randy Staus for boys soccer. And that's an invite. They are selected by the other coaches in the state to come coach that all-star event. Moving on to, I think it's your first appendix, the athlete safety, athletic training report. Total injuries were at 115, which is down from 153 last year. Total daily screens were down by 348. So we have an outstanding athletic trainer in Rihanna. She's keeping our athletes healthy so they can do what they do, in competition. And then Appendix 2 gives further analysis on the participation numbers compared to the previous 4 years. And Appendix 4 illustrates the conference standings in all sports. At the end of that, Appendix 4 is something new. It's actually just something I created, the Woodland all sport standings. And so I just taking the conference places, dividing by how many sports they offer. And it's something that our conference in my previous school used to actually acknowledge conference-wide to just demonstrate which athletic department is doing the best in the conference. And as you see in there, we come out on top from my own little unofficial standing report. Just some additional highlights for athletics. Moving into next year, like I said, that participation rate, I'm happy to say that we are adding boys and girls lacrosse to our athletic offerings next year. So I think that's going to help boost those numbers. We have in our interest survey that we sent out to incoming freshmen through incoming seniors. For girls lacrosse particularly, we have 25 girls that are interested in playing lacrosse. So that's really good, not only for our overall participation numbers, but really for our female numbers. This year, I was one of about 110 athletic directors across the state that participated in this Inside Out initiative, professional development. I did the coursework, earned a core badge, and so then now this year we bring in the coaches, and really what that is developing our purpose statements. There's going to be a little bit of a shift in my communication to our parents at our all sports meetings, where previously I've described our athletics program as an education-based athletics program. Moving forward, we will be a purpose-based athletics program. So really, we are here for a purpose, and really our purpose is to create better human beings, create better people, and we're going to use sport as kind of the curriculum to do that. Another highlight, we had the Watt jersey retirement. That was, I can say, one of the highlights of my professional career. That was just an awesome night. Everything from the weather to TJ and Derek Watt, Chris McIntosh, everything just went fantastically, and it was just an awesome night and definitely a highlight. And then, just as we mentioned a little bit ago, the weight room project, that is a project that Stacy and I started talking about 5 years ago, and finally we got it to come to fruition. We raised $165,000 to get that equipment in there, and finally to have that project done. Just really fantastic accomplishment. Any questions on the athletics report before I move to activities? No? All right, moving on to the activities report. Just to really give you a brief, very brief summary of our activities program. We have service, performance, and competitive clubs, activities, or organizations kind of under our fold. Participation-wise, our numbers were up by about 23 students from last year. So again, like I said in the little summary on that first page, the goal of the activities program and athletics is really to find something that kids can connect to, that they can invest in their high school experience, because all the studies show the more that they're connected, the more that they're invested, the more successful they're going to be. So the whole purpose of our activities program is really to find ways to connect students to their school experience, get them involved, and more successful they'll be. So our participation numbers continually increasing is a good thing. Some celebrations. Our drama club successfully put on a fall play, Radium Girls, and a spring musical, Lightning Thief. From Lightning Thief, we had 2 Jerry Award recipients that earned statewide recognition. We had several clubs or organizations compete at the regional and state levels with a large amount of success, led by our Division II state championship in academic decathlon. We had several national qualifiers in FCCLA and FBLA. FCCLA is a new club that we had this year. It's Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, which partners with FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America, very well. Our robotics team won the Gracious Professionalism Award again for the 2nd straight year, and our Student Senate earned the Leadership Award at their state conference this year. Going back to FCCLA, one thing I learned today, so we had 2 members of that new club this year make it all the way to nationals, which was in Denver on July 4th, I think it was. But I just found out this morning that Lilo Goodmanson earned 1st place at the national competition, and her category was fashion design. So congratulations to Lilo.
Jeff, have we ever won ACADEC before?
Yeah, we have 3 state titles, I think. This was our 4th.
Okay. Has it been a while?
It has been a while, yeah.
I won in 08 and 09 when I coached them, and then we had it back in 2017.
We've been runner-up a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Overall, we are somewhere near 85%. So in that activities packet, you'll see that there's one club, intramural basketball, that's highlighted because we don't have the final numbers yet. And then that's kind of holding up some other data in that report. But I do know that our numbers in intramural basketball were higher than last year. So with that being said, we're at right around 85% or higher of our student body participating in either an activity, club, organization, or sport. And while that's not 100%, which is where we want to be, really, connecting with every single student in the building, these are still outstanding numbers. And having 85% of our students connected and invested in their high school experiences is something to be very proud of. One final note before I step aside on this is that the amount of success that we are experiencing at Pewaukee High School is really not normal. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's pretty special, but it's definitely not normal. Going to our activities, in my previous district, we would have somewhere a handful, 1, 2, 3 members of the FBLA program, which was a strong FBLA program, make it to nationals, and it was a big deal. We would celebrate it. This year at Pewaukee, we had 9. We had 9 students make it to nationals for FBLA, which is just outstanding. Again, FCCLA, we had 2 national qualifiers. Pewaukee High School had 6 players of the year for their conference sports, 13 all-state athletes. Actually, I can talk with Matt here in the audience. Matt is we went to the same high school. I coached Matt in high school. Having an all-state athlete is pretty special. I mean, and it's rare. Like if a school has 1 all-state athlete, that person is highly regarded in the hallways. That's the person. We had 13 all-state athletes this year at Pewaukee High School. 4 state championships in the last 3 years. 10 teams qualifying for state since 2020. It's an incredible run, one that's not normal, one that we can't take for granted, but it's also one that we're going to ride this wave while we have it, right?
And when did you and Brian start? When was that?
18. Yeah.
Took you a couple of
Got
years.
some good mojo.
Right.
Got some good mojo going.
So really just, the last thing is, it's a special place, it's a special time. We can't lose sight of that. I firmly believe that athletics and activities is the front porch of a school district. I don't think anything brings people and engages a community like athletics and activities with the school district. And maybe I'm biased on that, I'm not sure. But regardless, I'm very proud of the front porch that we have here. So, any questions?
No, Jeff, I mean, it was, I think, part of the hiring process when we brought you on board. And one of the things that was impressive when you came in, you had the sort of summary kind of report that you had at your previous school district. And it was like, wow, that's impressive because we've not seen that before. But it's also the way that you've kind of approached the whole program in terms of recognizing, acknowledging all of the different sports as well as all of the different activities that are out there. I mean, so it's not like anybody is just being singled out. Everybody gets some degree of recognition in our athletics and activities kinds of programming. And I think you've done a great job in terms of pulling that information together, providing us with good statistics. And to me, it's really the combination of the kids that are participating in a lot of these things, they know that their study time is limited. So they focus really heavily on their academics. And so they kind of go hand in hand for me, that if kids want to participate, they have to get their homework done. And I think that's a message that really comes through loud and clear. I mean, our academic standing is nothing to be ashamed of at all, in conjunction with being great in athletics and great in some of the activities that are out there too. So, I mean, it's a I don't know, what do you call it, a case study or an example of how these things really do work hand in hand. And I think they kind of feed off of each other. That's my other kind of process that's there. I mean, younger siblings, older siblings. I mean, it's just I think whatever it was, one of the Terrian children, what's his name?
Josh, the
No, not-
boy?
The one that went to Northern,
Josh.
He's
Michigan
at
Tech.
Michigan
Josh.
Tech, Josh.
Josh, okay, so anyway, I mean, they kind of referred to it as the legacy. And again, they created that legacy to have the three-peat kind of thing that's going on, so the challenges are out there, and I think after the last school board meeting, I saw this, Nick Jankowski coming out of one of the gyms. I think he lives here. hanging out in the gyms, and he had one of the freshmen, I think, hanging out with him too. So, I mean, they kind of feed off of each other in terms of how they want the programs to succeed here. So it's awesome, and thank you, Jeff, thank you, Brian, for all that you do to support the athletics and the activities. So.
Thank you.
I would just say 84%, 85%, wherever that lands is really an impressive number. I've been around this a long time. That's the highest level of participation I can recall hearing for athletics and activities of any of the high schools I've been associated with. And, the GPA data is great. I mean, and that's what we know. Kids who are involved and connected into something meaningful in their school tend to perform better academically, and you can see that in the GPA data that you presented. And that also speaks to how important it is to have quality coaches and advisors, because those folks spend a lot of time. I know I spent more time with my wrestling coach than any teacher I had all throughout high school. And it's not at all taken away from the teacher impact, but the impact that these coaches and that these advisors, because kids are choosing to invest their time and their energy into these things. It's huge impact in terms of the positive influence those adults are having. And so, you know, you don't get the kind of results that you're getting if you don't have great people in those roles. So, wanted to give a little acknowledgement to them and to thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, don't move anywhere.
Yep, I'll stay here.
WIAA membership renewal.
I think, is there a code of conduct?
Code of
before that?
conduct first.
Oh, did I skip one? Sorry, code of conduct.
We got a, speaking of three-peats, we got
Three-peats,
a
yep.
trifecta of Jeff right here.
Right, there are no changes to the code of conduct from the previous year. So that's just, that remained exactly the same.
Anybody have any questions or comments on the code? All right, can I have a motion, please? Oh, this is an informational item.
Yep,
Yeah.
just in-
Sorry. Well, that wasn't, okay.
Now we get to the.
Now
WIAA.
you're on the
we can go.
WIAA.
It's kind of a boring point that I'm in, okay. WIAA membership renewal, consideration and approval.
And that's really just a form that goes to you and Mike for your signatures. The one thing is, I just want to make sure that the lacrosse, we are noted for lacrosse on both of those, right? Or on that, for both
It
genders?
is, they're both checked in the document.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Then that should be correct.
Yep, so we need a motion then and from the board to approve that.
I move to approve the WIA membership, let's see where it is here. Move to approve the membership renewal for the Pewaukee School District in the WIAA for the 2023 and 2024 school year.
Second.
All in favor of the motion as proposed, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Can I ask, what's the difference between the contact co-op and the non-contact co-op?
Yeah, so the contact co-op is the host school. So for example, our boys swim program, we send our boys to Waukesha North. They are the host school. For the girls, we actually send our girls to Oconomowoc, but we are the host school.
Gotcha.
We provide the coaches, we have the budget, things like that. Yep.
And clarify on that, so will lacrosse be a co-op, bro?
Co-op with Oconomowoc. And really, we kind of, we balanced whether to go with Oconomowoc or Waukesha. Some of our youth kids participate in the Waukesha Youth Lacrosse Program, but we have more, especially girls, that participate in the Oconomowoc Youth. We already have a great relationship with Oconomowoc with the girls' swim program. Our boys, their boys lacrosse coaches were our coaches when we had club lacrosse here a couple years ago. So it's just a better fit.
All right.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Danielle, standards adoption?
Yeah, so this is a legal requirement that we have each year, that after July 1, the board needs to approve the standards that we utilize. And so these are the general standards. As you know, as part of our curriculum process, we identify the standards that we prioritize amongst that and those that just support our curriculum. So what you approve in the curriculum is what we follow, but this is a legal requirement for us to formally adopt any standards that are listed inside of our curriculum. Happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Danielle? All right, can I have a motion, please?
Move to approve the provided list of academic standards to be utilized for the 2023-2024 school year.
Second?
All in favor of the motion as proposed, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to personnel.
Right, we have a few items here for you this evening. Starting off with resignations, I'd seek your approval and acceptance of the resignations of Crystal Klappich, who was a half-time social studies teacher at Pewaukee High School, and Mike Calise, English teacher at Pewaukee High School.
Motion?
Move to approve the resignations of Crystal Klepich and Michael Callis as presented.
Second.
All in favor of approving the motion as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Some employments?
We have two employments, Heather Pratt, special education teacher, and Marissa Marks, second grade teacher at PLE.
questions or comments on that? May I have a motion, please?
Move to approve the employment as stated.
Second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the hiring of Heather Pratt and Marissa Marks, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And there are no leaves. I do know we will have, I know we have an English teacher already selected. That just happened though, so you didn't have it for action tonight. And I know we have opportunity in August to make those approvals of those last hires. But
Okay.
I believe, I might be off, but I think we are 100% staffed
So
for
the English is
teachers.
the, as far as we know right now, the last one that we need?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the only thing we have open is the part-time PLE secretary.
Yeah, so
Across
right
the
now
whole
we're in
district,
great
only
shape.
like one or two positions open.
Just one part-time secretary, because we had a secretary move buildings.
Yeah, so that English teacher position,
Yeah.
you'll get at the next meeting for
Okay.
approval, but are already an accepted offer, so we're set there.
Wow.
So good news, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
in this environment, to be 100% staffed at this point, hopefully it stays that way, is a good place to be.
Did we already hire someone to replace Crystal, or we don't need the part-time social studies teacher?
Studies?
That's,
I don't.
I'm gonna have to
details
get
on that
back,
one.
yeah, did we not,
It's not open, so it might.
I
they might
think
It was
maybe,
only part-time, so maybe.
yeah, I'd have to go back and check on that one. But as, my understanding is I think we're, with the English teacher hire of that, I think we're covered.
All right, moving on to our board goals and operations section, review of upcoming activities. We've got the WASB Summer Institute, the 14th and 15th in Green Bay. We're asking you to hold Monday, August 21st for the special meeting to vote in the hires at 7:15 a.m. before the new teacher orientation, which will start at 7:30 in the high school commons. Then that same day, we have the budget hearing, annual meeting, regular meeting, and business affairs, all at the auditorium in the high school. And then finally, Tuesday, August 29th will be the welcome back breakfast at 7:30 in the high school cafeteria with the program to follow. And if we need to, if we have any more hires that need to be voted in, we would have that meeting that day at 7:15. Moving on, any questions on those?
Yeah, I'd just say that the special for hiring those late hires, I mean, it takes like 5 minutes.
All right, moving on to the legislative update.
Well, the big news is that we have a biennium budget that was signed by the governor following, his work with his veto authority. And as you know, Wisconsin governors have among, and maybe the most powerful veto authority in the United States. So there was a number of vetoes by the governor, including for schools, an interesting one that extended the 325 per pupil for the next 4 centuries, which will be interesting to, so I would say that does give us predictable funding for our great-great-great-great-grandchildren. However, that can obviously be changed and by future legislature. But however, through this term, I would imagine that's one of the things, John testified at the Blue Ribbon Commission a number of years ago. One of the things is about predictable, sustainable. It certainly provides that. So that was one of the things in terms of education that was notable that came out of that. So it's things I think we've generally already talked about with the biennium budget. It went through really, other than that veto change as expected, 33% reimbursement for special education, the 325 per pupil in each year of the biennium were kind of the main pieces there. We talked about the literacy bill and how that was modified so that you're not required to adopt any of those curriculums as a part of that. So There will be screeners coming and test more information on what the testing requirements are of that literacy legislation. So those have been the biggest things in terms of education-related legislative issues.
Okay. Moving on to the board goals committee discussion. So normally we meet sometime between now and the beginning of the school year to develop the goals. The board was appointed in May, Larry, Bren, Jane, Stacy, or myself and Jeannie. And then we provided some documents to help us with the discussions.
We don't have a date specifically set out.
We do
there yet.
not.
I mean, but again, given I've kind of got some history in this area, started to go through and look at some of the materials, and I know a little bit later tonight during the closed session, Mike has given us some things that he maybe has got out there as related to our facility planning kind of discussions that are going on. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that I think they're going to have to probably kind of manage what our board goals and superintendent goals are in the context of the facility planning and also the update and revisions to the strategic planning that might be coming in the coming school year. So we may have to take some of that into account as to how we kind of factor that. But again, we always open it up to anything that would be a more specific board learning opportunity as well. So again, as if you have any thoughts or ideas about anything that we would really want to take on as, wow, we need to have a session on this because it's something that's new, something that's coming down the road. How is the school district prepared for addressing that so that we can make intelligent decisions from a board perspective about any of these new programs and activities? And so just my example on that, Mike and Danielle, would be, guys, you got to get ahead of us in terms, or get something in front of us related to this whole artificial intelligence. So can you pull together sometime in the next few months, something on that topic potentially? Because I think that's one of those that we're going to have to face and deal with out there. And again, as you guys learn more about it, and as we learn more about it, how does it affect the district and our overall performance? So
Done.
We'll just ask
Lots of ideas.
just ask GPT.
Yeah, she's gonna ask
We already have a
ChatGPT to
strategic
prepare
plan
something
written.
for
We have
us.
PDSA written on it, we have
Yep.
PD happening
well,
tomorrow
you
for 2
never know.
hours.
I mean,
We
it
got
could be
you.
a source
We
of
got
good
this.
either entertainment or what school districts have to do.
Yeah, there is I can just tell you, I mean, we obviously Leadership Week today kicked off, and artificial intelligence, emerging technologies as an added plan under Rachel's, for technology as a component. In fact, Danielle and Rachel are really working with the team on that tomorrow.
Yeah, we have goals already drafted, PDSA already drafted with action steps identified, and we'll be doing more of it tomorrow with the team and with leaders and our instructional coaches, so, yeah, we
Yeah,
got
I mean,
it.
because it's interesting, and I think in conversations that I had with Mark Hansen at Elmbrook, they're creating some kind of an AI lab. WCTC's got something going in terms of AI labs as well. I don't know what that means in
What
terms
does
of
that
what's.
mean? What's an AI lab, do you know?
I mean, WCTC is looking more at like the robotics side of the automation and AI. I don't know what Elmbrook exactly has and how that would differ from what we already have in our innovation centers and our maker spaces and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, we've partnered with New Berlin, and so, I've been leading PD for the area superintendents and are partnered with AI EDU to become like a regional hub for AI. So us and New Berlin are sort of leading that charge regionally. So, yeah,
Plus CISA too, right? CISA's involved?
yeah, CISA's with us on that one, so it's like, yeah, it's CISA, us and New Berlin. So, yeah, I'll probably be speaking at some national conferences this year on that, so.
Bring New Berlin along in.
Yep, we're all over the AI stuff, and feel very good about it.
Does anybody have any other suggestions or ideas? No? Okay. All right, then we will move into our closed
Yep.
session time.
Comments from citizens.
Hmm?
Just got to check for comments from citizens.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm skipping things left and right.
No problem.
Do we have any comments from citizens? Thank you. All right. I would not want you to sit there that long and then not get to speak. All right, so then we're going to move into our closed session.
Need a motion.
I need a motion and a roll call vote.
So I move to move into closed session in accordance with Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, 1(c), District Administrator Evaluation and Compensation, and potential action concerning performance evaluation. And B, in accordance with Wisconsin Statute 19.85, 1(c), Administrator and Confidential Support Staff Evaluation and Compensation, discussion and potential action concerning the performance evaluation data and individual contracts. And C, in accordance with Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, 1(c), discussion of and potential action concerning the teacher compensation system for the 2023-2024 contract year that will provide supplemental pay for all regular full-time and regular part-time professional employees employed by the district, including but not limited to certified full and part-time teachers as defined. And D, in accordance with Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, 1(c), discussion and potential action of salaries of individual employees, teachers, custodians, nurses, food service, paraprofessional, and secretaries.
Second.
All right, and a roll call vote. Larry?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Mary? Ashley? Yes. Jeannie?
Yes.
And I am a yes. All right, thank you.
And Jordan, a note that
All right, we are back into open session. I'm going to ask my friend Larry for our first motion.
Okay, so we had on the agenda tonight the approval of a number of contract and compensation things. So I'm going to offer first move to offer Superintendent Katie a new individual administrator contract for the 2023 to 2025 contract term.
Second.
Thank you, Jane.
Do you, I think we could do them all together, or do you want to do them individually?
Let's do them individually.
Okay.
So,
All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
All right, I'll do the others for Larry. Move to approve the offering of the new individual administrators contracts for the 2023-25 contract term and approve administrator and confidential support staff compensation.
second. All in favor for the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Move to approve a teacher compensation system as presented for the 2023-2024 contract year that will provide supplemental pay for all regular full-time and regular part-time professional employees employed by the district, including but not limited to certified full and part-time teachers as defined.
second. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Move to approve compensation for custodians, nurses, food service, paraprofessionals, and secretaries for the 2023-2024 school year.
Second. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of those motion to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.